Hello and welcome back to my CATIA V5 practice series. Today we're going to learn how to model this fairly simple part with a few particularities. One of them is this jagged looking welding surface here that has some depressions spread around it. And the other one is this relatively strange cutout on the backside here. So let's not waste any time and start doing it. Create a new part, don't worry about the name yet. Of course, we define our tree, which is the first thing you should be doing anyway. So here under the construction tree, we will create a new geoset called... First we define the base surface by creating a sketch and just extruding it. This could be just a plane, but I'm trying to do something different. We're gonna put a curvature here, which is represented by this circle. Just make a sketch and constrain it with the desired dimensions. You need to have some kind of geometry here to be able to trim the circle, otherwise it'll not work. So this is, yeah, 80 seems fine. That's fine, we extrude this in Z. So that's our welding surface. We create another geoset and call this sides. And we create another geoset and call it body. In the body we're just gonna do a simple offset of this. Let's say 15 millimeters. Here we are gonna do a little flange coming up like that. So create another sketch, put a line. Angle. We need to find a way to constrain this somehow, like that, like that, and this doesn't matter, we extend all the way up. And now we just fill it together. With a value of maybe 20. Seems a bit much. Let's go with 10 for now. Right, that's the main body. Now we are going to deal with the sides. Here we will top one will basically be a straight line, just to keep it simple. It's probably never gonna be exactly like this, but for now let's just assume that. And second one, we will create a circle to have some kind of a curvature. Something like that. We can create like a 10 millimeter offset. Move the circle like this. Now, let's put the dimensions first. This one we can call it 1300 radius. Good. And then we need to constrain this point where the circle starts. 25. Yeah. And this is why we added the dotted line there, because now if you cut, it will cut all the way to here, and I don't want it to extend that much, mainly because it might create some issues with the surface. So I wanted to stop somewhere around here. Make sure it's more than I need, and then cut it like that. Right, done. Now we need to sweep these, and we do a sweep with draft direction. We choose the draft direction, this one, which is the z-axis. We have like 5 degrees in this direction, and we can go with 80 and 10. You can extend it a little bit backwards here if you don't need it, because you might end up needing it later if you plan to change the part. And here it just needs to be big enough. We do the same for this one. Make sure to choose the correct angle. So it's like this, we want it to go like that. Alright. And I guess that's it for the main surfaces. What you want to do now is to add a trim geoset, and after this construction we will put a final geoset like that. Here we will have our part. We will start doing it now, just so we don't see all these surfaces. We can make this a different color and start doing stuff. Right, so first thing first, we want to fillet these together, this one, and this one. The simplest way to do that is with a shape fillet, but this shape fillet is very hard to control the radius. So it's fine if you want a static radius like 5 mm all the way through, but if you want to make a variable fillet, then this becomes really hard. It is not impossible, you can do this, but it's more difficult. So that's why if you have a variable fillet, I recommend you do this. You use the trim command instead. You can trim the part like this, and then you can just put variable fillet like that. Let's say we want to start smaller radius here. You select another point, make it 3 mm, and then you have your variable radius like that. Now I'm not really happy with where this point is, so I can just click it, go to the point selection, click it, and it will delete it, and then move it somewhere here. 5 mm, and that's more like it. Do the same for the bottom one. That is fine, and here, if I don't need a variable fillet, I can just use a normal one. Right, so this kind of setup with the trim and a variable fillet works very well for if you want to have a different radius on the fillet, but it's not really that updatable. It can cause issues when you update and change the geometry later on. This one is more stable, the shape fillet, but the drawback is you're gonna have a really hard time creating variable values for this radius. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now the first hard part is the trim. Well, first let's split this trim into two parts. So we have the front trim. This is really easy. You just need to cut it somewhere. So basically what you need is a line like that. 40 millimeters should be enough. Well, first let's change the color of this as well, so we can see a little bit better. Now for these sides, I could just recreate the sketches, but I don't want to do that because I already have them. I did them already. And I notice now that the sketches are not in the right position. So these ones would need to be moved here. This is their correct geoset. So I have this these sides here. And we can just use this and offset them, because that's basically our constraint. So we have this radius here, which is 5 millimeters, and we need to have like an offset of this. So we will offset this by, let's say, just reverse direction and put a positive value. 25, and this one 25 as well. And here for the front trim, we can go ahead and fillet them together like this. Right, now looking at this part, we noticed that one thing, and that is that it's pretty small. It's a pretty small part compared to what I had in mind. And these radiuses, this is a 5 millimeter radius, and it looks really big on the part because the part is very small. So we can go ahead and change that already. How do we do that? We go into the sketches that we first did, and we change this. This one is non-constraint. We go with it like that, and then we need to change this as well. We always want a bigger surface than we actually need. Right, and this one, what was the issue? We couldn't go any further. Oh, we can go as far as we want. There, that looks much better. Alright, so now let's continue with our trim. We create another geoset and we call it back trim. So this is the first obstacle that we have, Basque trim. Okay, so we'll just leave it like that, Basque trim. Sounds more interesting. Maybe the next guy who works on this part will have a hard time figuring it out, but not my problem. So how do we do that? Well, let's start with another sketch. We go into our Basque trim. Sorry, this is really bothering me. Back trim. And we create another sketch, and we need to figure out where we want to stop the trim. So let's say in this case somewhere about here. Create a big line. It's always better create bigger lines than you actually need, and you can cut them later and have small lines. So let's say this is 133, something like that. You extrude it like that, and then we are lucky because we can use this again, because we can just offset this. 5 millimeters should be fine, and then you just create a radius like that. This direction, let's go with 3, and that is fine. Now we unhide this extrude again. We do the same for the bottom part. This direction like that, and you then create another. Oops, no. We want it this way, actually. Right, now all that's left to do is to figure out where you want to cut the part in this direction, and we can do that with a simple sketch and a line. Totally easy, nothing too fancy here. 55. Just making these values up, by the way. I don't have an actual part as a reference. Just trying to make them believable. Right, so now we need to join these two together, and we do that with a fillet. Like that. And we use another fillet here. Sorry, that's not right. Like that. There you go. Perfect. And now for the final, we join the two trims together. This time we need a much bigger radius because it's gonna be somewhere here. And that's it. Now go back to the final, not the final trim. Maybe this is a bit confusing. I can write here final trim. And here we will do a split. Simple split. Use this as a splitting surface. Okay, and that's done. Very, very nice. You can go ahead and hide all the other surfaces because you don't need them now. All that's left to do is to go back to part design and create a thickness for this. Yeah, we're not in that set, no problem. 1.2. And hide everything else, and that's done. But we promised we're gonna do some depressions on this surface here. So the goal is to create those depressions that we saw on the previous part, but do it with minimal effort. Those depressions are on the welding surface. To change the welding surface, our welding surface is basically this one. What we need to do is we're going to replace this with a new surface that we're going to create inside this set. So in this welding surface, we're going to create a geoset called depressions. First things first, we need to have this intersection to generate this curve, because what we want to do is basically pattern them around the curve that is going to be this intersection between this surface and this one. Unfortunately, we don't have a command in CATIA to work like that, to pattern along a 3D curve. We can pattern it around the 2D curves with user pattern. We can pattern it around straight lines and circles, but not a 3D curve like this one, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to work a little bit harder, but this is going to work regardless of the curve you use in the future, so you can just update the curve very, very easily. So let's go and create this curve with an intersection. We intersect this like that. That is fine. First, what we needed to do in the first place was to use this one. Go back to here, welding surface, select this. This will automatically replace this command and offset it by 2 millimeters. The other way. Good. So this is now offset by 2 millimeters. Part has been updated as well, with no issues. And this curve actually you need to intersect it without the offset, intersect the original extrusion, and we're going to build on this one. We're going to have another intersection between this and this. No, sorry. This sketch and we go back to the depression geoset, and we're gonna have another intersection between this sketch, which is the edge of the part, and this curve that we just intersected. And see if we get anything. Yeah, we have a point here. This is gonna be our starting point where we're gonna to design everything. Good. Actually, no, this is not good. We need to offset this first. So we're gonna do a parallel curve on this first. We need to hide this one because we don't need it actually. And here we're going to do a parallel curve. It's in this direction and it's going to be somewhere like 13 millimeters. And this is actually the intersection between that and this. So it's not going to be this intersect, it's going to be the parallel curve actually. And we are going to start with the first point somewhere here. Point is related to this and it's going to be 30. That's too much. 25. Also too much. 15 maybe. Right. This is our first point. Okay, and we're going to create another geoset here. No. Let's start with this first. We are going to create a plane where we're going to draw a sketch. On this sketch, we will have elongated hole like this. I like to use this type of shape because then I'm not going to be worried about what happens here. If this radius here will work, this one will work as well when I join it to the rest of the part. And here we're going to constrain this one to the point, the coincidence. Here this is going to be like 25 divided by 2. That's a little too much actually, but it is what it is. This is actually the value that we might end up needing. And here we're gonna go with 25, I don't know, this doesn't matter. Just need to make sure it's past the flange of this part. Okay. This we're going to go with another sweep with draft direction. Go with set. This time is this surface. We don't need it that much, so we don't need to go all the way. This is fine. So this is the first point that we're gonna use. Now I want to pattern this all around this curve actually. So just so I can make it easy for myself, I'm going to create a new parameter. You don't have to create a new parameter, but this is just easy to update in the future. Type length. Sorry, type length. New parameter of type length. So I'm just going to call this depression pitch, and it's going to be 35, I don't know. Right here I'm going to create another geoset and call it to pattern. Okay, so here I'm actually going to create another point. I'm going to use the first point as a reference. I'm going to edit formula. I'm going to write ×1 here because I'm going to change this for the next spots. And here I will create another plane. I can just actually copy this one, it's much easier, and then replace the spot like that. We're about to do easy stuff here, not hard. And create an axis system. Use this point as an origin. Make sure you define the Z axis to this. It doesn't have to be set, but it helps. And the, let's say, x-axis, use the coordinates. Yeah, that's fine, doesn't matter as long as it's the same for all of them. I need to go back to this set and create the same axis system here. Use this as the reference point. Use the plane as the Z. and this one coordinates, yeah, it's -1. Go back to this geoset, and then I'm going to translate this. We need to translate the sweep from this point to this point. And here, with the translated sweep, we're going to do a shape fillet between this and go back to the offsetted welding surface, this one. Just I'm gonna make it visible so you guys can see it. Do like that. Okay, this is our first object. Now we just copy paste, change the formula to ×2, click OK, update, and just like magic, copy paste, change the formula to ×3, click OK, and magic happens. Copy paste again into the depression set, change the formula, ×4, click OK, update, and magic again. Now, the reason I created this because you then can go back and update this to 34mm, and it'll do something like this. You can adjust the pitch here very easily, 33, and it'll update. Very easy to do. Right, now to continue, we need to go back to the welding surface, and we will use this offset. We're going to go to insert mode again, and we will do a trim. The reason why we do a trim now is because you can go one by one and fillet them like that, but it's much easier and faster to do it like this. You go to the offset, you cut everything, click OK, then you go to the trim, you go to insert mode, go to edge trim again. Well, you know, if you click on the face, it'll just select all of them, which is really good. Now, in theory, you should update this and it should be fine, but there is a small offset here which you might have issues with, and it's this one. Actually, when we created the body, we used this surface as a base, but we are not going to use this one. We're going to go back to the original extrusion. And this is what I was talking about trimming and edge filleting. This is the kind of errors you will get when updating the part. Most of the time you just click OK and it works, but sometimes you need to reselect the edges. And there you go. That's how you design these depressions on a part. Easily patternable, very adaptable, and good stability for the part. You can then go back into this and change it. You can change the curvature if you want. Let's say we don't like this, we want a smaller radius here, like that. Let's say you want to change this curvature, that should work as well. So you have the welding surface here, want to make it more flat, not an issue. And these depressions will just automatically update and keep their pitch and use the other surfaces as a base. So there are some edge cases where you might be able to do this easier, but this will just work for every single situation. Let me know what you think, if you found this useful, and if you found other ways to do it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.